There is a mason jar sitting on the shelf inside my granary right now, behind the seed bags, next to the old coffee tin. It has been sitting there for 11 years. It contains two things: white sugar from the grocery store and a powder that costs $4 a box at Walmart. That jar has not moved in 11 years because it does not need to. Every spring, I set out 4 of those stations around the base of the granary, 2 along the foundation of the house, and 3 near the vegetable beds. And every spring, within 3 days, the ant trails disappear. Not slowed down, not redirected, gone. And I mean every ant, the ones you see and the ones you do not see. The ones in your kitchen and the ones 40 feet underground that you will never find, no matter where you spray. The whole colony, dead. And it does not touch my chickens, it does not bother my dog, it does not harm a single bee that works my clover fields. My name is Elmer, I am Amish. I was born and raised in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. I have kept bees for 31 years, raised laying hens, maintained a kitchen garden, and managed a property of 62 acres without a single contract with a pest control company in my entire life. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to eliminate every ant colony around your house, your garden, and your outbuildings this weekend for less than $12 total. Professional services charge between $200 and $300 for a single visit to do the same thing. And they will be back in the spring. I will show you a system where they do not come back. Let me start with what most folks get wrong. When people see ants in their kitchen, along their baseboards, on the patio, they do one thing. They kill the ants they can see. They spray the counter. They lay down those sticky traps. They call a company and pay $250 for a man to spray the perimeter of their house with something that smells like chemicals and wears off in 6 weeks. And then they wonder why the ants are back. Here is what that person does not understand. The ants you see are not the colony. They are the scouts. They are the delivery workers. They are the 5 to 10% of the population sent out each morning to forage for food. When you kill a scout, you have not touched the colony. You have not gotten anywhere near the queen. The queen is sitting underground, sometimes 3 to 4 feet deep, in a chamber the size of your fist, laying up to 1,500 eggs a day. She can live 20 years. The colony around her can contain 100,000 workers. You can spray and trap and stomp every ant you ever see on your kitchen counter every single day for the rest of your life and never reduce the population of that colony by 1%. That is the math. 100,000 ants. You see 5 to 10,000 on a good day. You kill every one of them. The queen laid more eggs than that before noon. People ask me why the pest control company does not explain this. I will get to that later. But the reason people fail with ant control is they are solving the wrong problem. They are focused on the ants they can see instead of the queen they cannot find. The only way to kill a colony is to send something into the colony that the ants carry themselves, willingly, without knowing what it is. Something slow enough that the forager survives the trip back. Something they will share mouth to mouth, all the way down to the queen. My grandfather Amos understood this. He had no chemistry degree. He worked his farm in Mifflin County with his hands the same as his father before him. But he understood that an ant colony is a supply chain. And if you want to poison a supply chain, you do not attack the truck on the road. You put something in the warehouse. He kept a small jar of what he called the mixture on the tool shelf in his barn every summer from as far back as I can remember. The recipe was not his. He learned it from his father. And that was decades before the pest control industry became what it is today. The first thing you need is a box of 20-mule team borax. You find it at Walmart in the laundry aisle, not the pest control aisle. That is important. It costs about $4.50 for a 65-ounce box. That box will last you 3 to 4 summers. Borax is a mineral. It is sodium tetraborate. It has been mined from the earth in the California desert for over 100 years. It is not a synthetic chemical. It is not a nervous system agent. It does not work the way a spray works. Here is what it does inside an ant. The worker ant ingests the borax solution. It cannot process it. Borax interferes with the ant's digestive system at the cellular level, disrupting the mitochondria, cutting off energy production, but it does it slowly. That is the key word, slowly. The ant does not die for 24 to 48 hours. That is enough time for the ant to walk back to the colony, share the food through mouth-to-mouth feeding, what entomologists call trophallaxis, and contaminate dozens or hundreds of other ants, including the larvae, including the queen. The whole chain collapses from the inside. But here is where 90% of people who try this method fail. They make the mixture too strong. They think more borax means faster results. It does not. If the concentration is too high, the forager dies before it gets back to the nest. It dies in your kitchen. You sweep it up. Nothing reaches the queen. The queen lays more eggs tomorrow morning. You have accomplished nothing. The ratio that works is this: 1 tablespoon of borax to 3 tablespoons of white granulated sugar, dissolved in 1 cup of warm water. Stir it until the borax is fully dissolved. There must be no grit in the solution. The ant's mouth is smaller than the head of a pin. If the borax is not dissolved, the ants will not be able to ingest it, and they will walk around it. The solution should be completely clear. If it is cloudy, add more warm water and stir again. Pour the liquid onto small squares of cardboard, about 3 inches by 3 inches, or saturate cotton balls and place them in the lids of mason jars. You want a surface that holds the liquid without it running off. Place your stations exactly where you see the ant trails. Not near them, on the line. Ants follow pheromone paths. They are not explorers, they are commuters. Put the bait on the commuter line, and within 30 minutes you will see something that looks alarming. Dozens of ants, then hundreds, swarming the station. Do not disturb them. Do not spray them. Do not wipe them away. That swarm is the delivery system. Every one of those ants is loading up to carry your borax solution back underground. If you interfere with that process out of instinct, you undo everything. Let them work. The stations need to stay wet. Check them twice a day and replenish with fresh solution when they dry out. Within 24 hours, the traffic will slow. Within 48 to 72 hours, the trail will stop. Within 5 to 7 days, the colony will be in collapse. In some large colonies, it may take 2 weeks. I will not tell you every colony dies in 3 hours. The 3 hours is how long it takes you to set the system up, not how long the colony takes to die. But I will tell you this. In 31 years of keeping this property, I have never had the same colony return after running this protocol correctly. Tell me in the comments below how long you have been dealing with ants in or around your home and whether you have ever tried anything that actually worked. I read every one of them. Now, here is the second piece of the system. And this is the part that handles the garden, the raised beds, the potted plants, and the indoor perimeter all at once. Food-grade diatomaceous earth. You can find it at most garden centers, at Tractor Supply, or online. The brand I use is Safer Brand. A 4-pound bag costs about $8 to $9. Make certain it says food grade on the bag. Do not buy pool grade. Pool grade is chemically treated, and it will harm your soil biology and your earthworms. Food grade is the fossilized shells of microscopic aquatic organisms called diatoms. To your eye, it is a fine white powder that feels like baby powder. To an ant, it is something entirely different. Under a microscope, it looks like a field of broken glass. When an ant walks through diatomaceous earth, the sharp silica particles do not poison it. They scratch through the waxy coating on the ant's exoskeleton. That coating exists for one reason: to hold moisture inside the ant's body. Once the coating is scratched, the moisture leaks out. The ant dehydrates and dies within 12 to 24 hours. It cannot adapt to this. It cannot build a resistance to it. You cannot develop an immunity to dehydration. The mechanism is purely physical. This is what makes it useful in the garden, where you do not want to bring a bait solution near edible plants. You apply diatomaceous earth as a dry barrier. Take a handful and dust it in a thin, continuous line around the base of your garden beds, around the base of any potted plants, along the foundation of your house at the soil line, all the way around, along the inside edge of your windowsills, along the back of your pantry shelves where the jars sit. My grandmother kept it there for her whole life. She called it her silent guard. The line needs to be continuous. A gap of 3 inches is all an ant needs to route around it. The one weakness of this method is water. Rain wets the powder and removes the sharp edges of the silica. After any rain, you need to reapply along outdoor lines. Indoors, it lasts indefinitely, as long as it stays dry. I apply fresh diatomaceous earth outdoors 4 times a season. At the start of May, after every heavy rain in June, once in August, and at the end of September before the ground cools. The indoor application I do once in early spring, and it holds all year. But there is one more thing most folks miss entirely, and it may be the most important part of the system. Because borax bait eliminates existing colonies and diatomaceous earth stops foragers from crossing your perimeter, but neither one addresses why ants chose your property in the first place. Ants do not move into your yard randomly. They follow food sources. The most common food source people do not think about is aphids. Ants farm aphids. This is not a figure of speech. Ants physically herd aphids onto the stems of plants, protect them from predators, and harvest the sugary liquid the aphids excrete, called honeydew. If you have aphids on your roses, your tomatoes, your beans, you have an ant food source. The colony will keep sending foragers to that food source regardless of how many you kill on the path. The third piece of this system is a spray for your plants. 1 quart of water, 5 drops of dish soap, 20 drops of peppermint essential oil. You can get a small bottle of peppermint oil at any health food store or online for about $6. It lasts multiple seasons. Shake the bottle and spray every aphid-covered stem you can find, every 3 to 4 days for 2 weeks. The soap breaks down the aphid's protective coating, same principle as the diatomaceous earth. The peppermint oil repels ants through its strong volatile oils, which interfere with the pheromone communication ants use to navigate. When ants cannot read their own chemical trails, they cannot find the food source. Without the food source, the foraging incentive disappears. Eliminate the aphids, and you remove the reason the ants return every year. Most people address the ants and never touch the aphids. The aphids are the reason the ants are there. This is the piece the pest control company will never tell you because a bottle of peppermint oil and a bar of dish soap are not a monthly contract. Now here is the part that should make you uneasy. The complete system I just described costs you this. A box of borax, $4.50, lasts 4 summers. Divide that by 4, and your annual borax cost is about $1. A 4-pound bag of food-grade diatomaceous earth, $8, lasts 2 to 3 summers. Call it $3 to $4 a year. A small bottle of peppermint essential oil, $6, lasts 3 to 4 seasons. Call it $2 a year. Total materials in year 1, under $19. Total materials every following year, $5 to $7. Professional ant extermination, according to Angai, Home Advisor, and This Old House, averages $250 per visit. Quarterly maintenance plans run $400 to $1,200 a year. And according to reviews across Reddit, Angie, and Google reviews, the most common complaint is that the ants come back within 3 to 8 weeks because the spray kills the foragers. It does not reach the queen. The company comes back, you pay again. I am not saying those companies are dishonest people. I am saying a $4 box of borax that eliminates a colony permanently cannot pay a dispatcher, a truck, a liability policy, and a technician's hourly wage. There is no business model inside a product that costs $4 and lasts 4 years. So there is no advertisement for it, no sales visit, no television commercial. The solution has existed for as long as borax has been sold in this country, which is well over 100 years. The miners who worked the borax deposits in Death Valley knew it killed insects. Homesteaders in the 1890s used it around their pantries and grain stores. My grandfather's father knew it. Nobody discovered this. It was simply more profitable for it to be forgotten. That is not a conspiracy. It is just how the money flows. The fourth and final piece of the system is the one you do once in the fall, and it changes your entire situation going into next spring. Cedar mulch around the perimeter of your house foundation. Not wood chip mulch. Cedar specifically. Cedar contains natural oils, thujoplycin and cedrol, that ants find deeply repellent. A queen scouting for a new nest location in late summer and fall will avoid any ground that smells of cedar. You are essentially making your property an unattractive nesting site for next year's colonies before they establish. A 50-pound bag of cedar mulch costs about $15 to $18 at any garden center or Home Depot. You need 2 to 3 inches of depth laid in a band, 12 to 18 inches wide against your foundation, all the way around the house. One application lasts 1 to 2 years before the oil dissipates enough to need refreshing. You will notice that ants tend to establish their primary nests close to structures in the zone where the soil meets the foundation, because that ground is warmer, more stable in temperature, and protected from hard rain. Deny them that zone, and they establish further out in the yard where they cause no problems. They eat other insects, they aerate soil. Out in the field, they are doing nothing wrong. It is only when they establish under your foundation or inside your walls that you have a real problem. Cedar mulch does not eliminate ants. It removes the incentive to nest next to your house. Combined with the borax bait to collapse any existing colony and the diatomaceous earth line to stop foragers crossing your perimeter, you have a complete system that addresses the problem at every stage. Esther asked me once why I bother making these videos when I could just keep doing things the way I have always done. I told her some knowledge has a way of getting lost, not because it stops working, but because nobody is paid to teach it anymore. She said that was a good enough reason. I think she was right. Here is what I want you to do this weekend. First, go to the laundry aisle at Walmart and pick up a box of 2,0 Mule Team Borax for $4.50. While you are there, pick up a bag of white granulated sugar if you do not have one at home. Saturday morning, mix your borax bait. 1 tablespoon borax, 3 tablespoons sugar, 1 cup warm water. Stir until completely clear. Set your stations on cardboard squares or in jar lids directly on top of the ant trails you can see. Set at least 4 to 6 stations for an active infestation. Replenish every 12 hours as they dry out. Do not disturb the swarm when it comes. Let it run 3 to 5 days. Second, order or pick up a 4-pound bag of food-grade diatomaceous earth this weekend, $8 to $9. Apply a dry, continuous line around your garden beds, your potted plants, your indoor windowsills, and the exterior base of your foundation. Reapply after any rain. Third, if you see aphids on any of your garden plants, mix 1 quart of water with 5 drops of dish soap and 20 drops of peppermint oil in a spray bottle. Spray every aphid-covered stem every 3 to 4 days for 2 to 3 weeks. Fourth, this fall before the ground freezes, lay cedar mulch 12 to 18 inches wide against your foundation, 2 to 3 inches deep. That is the system. Year 1, total cost, under $25 including the cedar mulch. Every year after that, $5 to $10 to replenish borax and diatomaceous earth. No contract, no truck in the driveway. No man in a hazmat suit spraying chemicals on your vegetable garden. Tell me in the comments where you are located and whether the ants you deal with are getting into the house, the garden, or both. I am curious whether the problem is worse in certain regions, and I want to hear from people who have tried borax before and what went wrong, because usually it comes down to the concentration ratio. Next time, I am going to show you how to deal with carpenter ants specifically. They are a different problem than sugar ants, and they require a different approach because they are not foraging for food, they are destroying your structure. It is the natural next step after today. Until then, go look at your foundation line, right now, this afternoon, before you forget. And remember, the people who built this country with their hands knew things we are only just starting to remember.